Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be sewing up the Magical Twirl pattern. I'm super excited about this, so let's get started. Alright, we're jumping right in, and if you're doing the long sleeve version, the sleeved version, I'm grabbing sleeve A and sleeve B, and we're going to attach them together. One thing I'm going to mention before I keep going, it's when you have a pattern that has a lot of different pieces like this one does, you want to make sure that you are keeping the pattern piece and the fabric together, so that way when you are actually working on it, you know what each piece is. Because on your when you're following your instructions, it tells you the name of the pattern piece, so make sure that you keep them together. And then I also added clips to the back, so that way I know that that's my back of my sleeve, even though they're different lengths, so I will be able to tell that. But you want to make sure that you're extra careful. So I'm grabbing piece A and I'm placing it right side up on my mat, and I'm gonna grab piece B and I place it right side down, right on top of it at the bottom, because we're gonna sew them together to create one sleeve. I'm hoping that this will give me like that cute cuff effect. And your sides, your raw edges should match. If you see that it's not matching, that's not the right one. You got to turn it around and do it on the other side. All right, friends, now we grab our front bodice and place it right side up on my mat. I'm gonna grab my sleeve, and the side that I did not mark, the front side, I'm gonna place it right sides together on my front here at the edge. And then I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Right sides together. And I'm gonna sew that up. All right, now once that's sewn up, we're gonna grab our back bodice. Now I like to do it at the same time because I have clips, but if you wanna go ahead and sew those up first and then come back, we're grabbing now the back piece of our bodice face up, and we're gonna grab that other side of the sleeve where the clip is, and we're gonna match it right sides together at that sleeve mark. Right sides together at that raw edge, and sew it as well. All right, now that our sleeves are sewn on, we're gonna grab our bodice and we're gonna face them right sides together. We're gonna match here at the armpit seam. We're gonna go down the front, right sides together, and down the sleeve, matching that seam right here where I sew them together. Do the same on the other side. All right, friends, now for our cowl, I'm going to ruche the side. So what you can see here is I've placed both cowls right sides together. And as you can see, this is the side that goes kind of out a little bit, has this like pointy area. If you grab your fabric and you do the stretch is going this way, not this way. The maximum stretch goes this way. So that will help you place them right sides together. See how that side goes kind of out like this? You know that those are your sides. So because I'm doing the ruching, if you are not doing the ruching, then you're just gonna leave it. But I'm doing the ruching, so I'm gonna grab these two sides, and on each side I'm gonna put them right sides together, and then I'm gonna go in and put in a gathering stitch here at the edge of these two right sides together. Because I'm gonna end up gathering this like a ruching effect here on the sides. Now, I don't know if I want to ruche both sides or just one. It's completely up to you. And if you don't want to ruche either side, that's fine. Or if you just want to ruche one side, I'm thinking I'm going to do the one side ruche, because I think it looks super cute when just one side is scrunched up and the other side kind of lays straight. So that's what we'll do. Now on this other side, since I'm not ruching, now if you're not ruching any of it, then this is what you will do on both sides. You're just going to sew them right sides together here. So I'm gonna go over here and sew this one straight. I'm not ruching one side, I'm ruching just one side. So this one will be straight, this one will be gathered. So I'm gonna sew with my serger, stretch stitch here. On here I'm gonna use my sewing machine, but you can use your serger too and then gather it. And I'm gonna put in just a basting stitch to gather it, leaving the first 1/2 inch ungathered. All right, so this side has got that stitch. So we're going to grab, I like to grab the bobbin thread, and we're going to gather it until it's 10 inches. All right, there's 10 inches. And remember, we're not gathering that first 1/2 inch on each side. So ungather that. Then I'm going to grab either twill tape for 10 inches, or I'm going to grab clear elastic, which I'm using clear elastic. But the clear elastic will be 9 inches because it stretches a little bit. We don't want it to like sag. So I'm gonna cut it for 9 inches. I'm actually gonna cut it 10 inches, but I'm gonna use just that 1 inch. You know what? I'm actually not gonna cut it because I like to just use it without cutting. It makes it easier for me. But I am gonna mark it. So I'm gonna mark it at the 1 inch here. So this is the part that I'm gonna grab hold of at the top. And then I'm gonna mark it here. So we need to have it 9 inches. So I'm gonna mark it from the 1, I'm gonna mark it all the way to 9 inches here so that I know that that's where my end is supposed to be. That helps me do a better job when I'm putting it on here. So I'm gonna clip it and we're gonna like stitch it on. You can serge it, but I'm gonna do it on my sewing machine because that's much easier to me than actually trying to serge it together. And I'm gonna sew that on right there in that, on that edge. You could have actually gathered this with the actual clear elastic, left it open, and then pull the clear elastic and make it gather. That's up to you if you would like to do that instead. So now I'm gonna go ahead and sew that up. Start out the green, and I'm holding this elastic here at the back. Remember that first inch, 1/2 inch is just straight, is not gathered. So then after that is when it's gathered up. All right, so now that side is finished. The other side is finished as well. It's just straight like we talked about. Now I'm going to fold it wrong sides together. And my cowl is so cute. I'm going to go ahead and work now on my ties. I'm gonna do the full ties here on this side. And so I'm only cutting 2. I haven't cut them yet, but I'm only cutting 2 of them because I'm only doing one side. All right, here's my ties. What we're gonna do now is I'm going to flip them right sides together, and I'm sewing that that long raw edge together to create like little tubes. Now, if you want, you can sew one edge, like sew it down, so that way the bottom edge will be like finished. But if you don't want to do that, you can just leave it unfinished and then just knot it at the end. It just all depends. It also depends on what kind of fabric you're using. Mine won't fray, so you know, so it will be fine. I think I'm just gonna leave it raw so it's easier for me to turn it. All right, now we're gonna turn our ties right side out. All right, so here's my ties, and those raw edges are gonna go right here. So here's my raw edge at the top, so they're gonna go right at the bottom of the cowl, and they're just full ties. So they're just gonna, I'm just gonna go in right here and sew them in, zigzag stitch, sew them in right next to that seam right there. Just sew them in there, and they will just be like at the bottom of the cowl right here. Just gonna do like a zigzag stitch them on. Now we're gonna grab some clear elastic again, and we're going to cut it the circumference of our cowl. Again, I don't like to cut my elastic, so what I like to do is I just like to mark it. So here's my half, and here's my beginning. And we're gonna sew it to the wrong side of our seam here, the raw edge. All right, now I'm going to use a zigzag stitch to sew that on all the way around. I am not pulling this elastic at all. It's just getting sewn right on there, and I'm using a zigzag stitch. Now you probably want to use the same color thread, but I wanted you to see how I just zigzagged it on with the thread. All right, now it's time to attach our cowl. I'm gonna grab my bodice. I'm gonna turn it right side out. And now I've got my bodice. This is the top of my bodice. And I'm going to quarter that by matching here the shoulders and going to the front. And then match the shoulders again and go to the back. Then you match the front and back and go to the sides. And I'm going to do the same for the cowl. Matching those two side seams, going to the front, side seams, going to the back. Now, I'm going to turn my cowl right side out. I want the right side of my cowl to go into my bodice. So the wrong side of the bodice is going to touch the right side of the cowl. And we're going to sew it here at the top edge, matching at those quarters. So like I said, the right side of my bodice, my cowl, is touching the wrong side of my bodice. You see how this is the right side of your bodice? And the cowl is in there. So now I'm going to sew that raw edge with my preferred stretch stitch, which is going to be my serger. I want to look here so that I'm catching my, I'm going to trap my clear elastic in my seam allowance. My seam allowance is a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I'm going to come right at the edge, and you'll see that my serger stitch will basically encase that elastic in there. So I'm not cutting the elastic off. I'm just going to be right on top of it. That's why you wanted to sew that clear elastic here at the edge. Now you may have to stretch that clear elastic, that band a little bit to fit to the bodice. All right, let me show you here. Most of my clear elastic is being caught there on the serger thread. See it right there? So now, when we turn our bodice, our cowl out, the seam will be on the inside and the cowl will spill out to the outside. So that seam would be inside, so you won't even be able to see it. Ugh, I put the seam on the front. Doesn't matter because it's covered. There it is. That's our bodice. Oh, this is gonna be super cute. Look at that, I already love it. Now, I don't think I want to do a button tab, but if you want to do the button tab, it's super easy. You're just going to grab 2 pieces of this that you cut out the fabric, and you're going to place them right sides together and sew around the whole bottom edge, leaving a space to turn it right side out. Then once you turn it right side out, you're going to top stitch it around. You're going to grab the tab. Well, first, before you turn it around, crop the corners. Then go ahead, turn it around and top stitch it all around. And then once you have the tab, you're basically just going to go around and sew it onto wherever you want to put it on. I don't know, maybe it would look cute, but I already have this ruching here, so I feel like it doesn't need another button blanket. I was hiding that because I stitched it with white thread. I might change that there again. I stitched it with white thread, and you could kind of see it when it's open like this. You won't be able to see it when it lays flat, but that's why I was tucking it anyway. So so then you will just sew it on, and then you add the button. But I don't think I'm going to do that today. Comment below and let me know if that's something you think I should add once you see it all together. And you can, definitely do this at the end once you've got it all finished. Add that if you want to, or if you don't want to, you can do that at the end. Now we're gonna go ahead and sew our sleeves and hem them up by turning 1/2 inch here. And we're gonna hem all that, but I think I'm gonna wait and hem it at the same time that I hem my skirt at the end. But if you wanna do it now, you can. I am going to do my straps. So I'm gonna grab the strap, I'm gonna fold it right sides together, and I'm gonna sew that raw edge. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my strap right side out. Now this is another step that I like to do at the end because I want to try it on before I figure out exactly where I want the straps. So you're going to basically just sew them onto the inside of your bodice right here, wherever you feel more comfortable or where you want to place them at. And then you're gonna place them on the back as well. So what I'll do is I'll try on my dress once it's finished, and I'll pin those straps wherever they feel more comfortable, and then I'll go back in and sew them on. So that's what I'll do at the end. So I'm gonna leave that to the end as well. Now, because this pattern has such a nice twirly skirt, it's going to be kind of heavy for our bodice. So one way that we're gonna add a little bit of reinforcement is by adding clear elastic here at the waist when we sew this skirt on. Now you can go ahead and add the clear elastic now, or you can add it at the same time when we're sewing all things together, the skirt and the bodice together. I'm going to wait for that step and add it then, but if you want to add it now, if you think that's easier for you, you can do it the same way we did it on the neckline. You could zigzag stitch it onto the bodice, and then you're going to stitch your skirt and you will be encasing it in there, but I'm probably going to do it at the same time. Alrighty, so here's where we put our skirt together. I am sewing the twirl option. So I am actually placing, I like to place all my pattern pieces like right side up in the order. So here's skirt A, here's my 2 inserts, and here's my skirt B front option right there. So I can just kind of see what is going to open up like, okay? So the first thing, I'm gonna move this one down. You wanna keep them together because that way you remember what's what, especially like if you have different colors and stuff like that. So I've got my skirt insert, and they're both face up on my table right now. So I'm gonna place one right on top of the other, right sides together, and I'm gonna sew them together at one side. All right, I'm gonna go sew that. All right, so here it is, and you can steam that and top stitch it if you like, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to grab my skirt front A, and we're going to connect, see right here where it says middle seam, connect to assembled insert pieces. I'm gonna move that out of the way, and we're gonna grab this one and fold it right on top, right sides together. So the right side of that skirt A is touching the right side of that middle insert. And we're gonna sew those raw edges. Okay, so we're gonna sew that with stretch stitch. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, since I have clips, and I like to do everything at the same time. Once that side A is sewn together, I'm gonna grab side B and sew that on. Here's my side B, and here, see how it says seam, middle seam connect to assembled insert pieces? That is the side. Back here is the other side, and that's the back, that's to the back. So that's not the side we're using. It's gonna be this side. So if you face it right side up, both of them, this is the side that's just gonna fold right over, and we're gonna sew that right sides together. All right, let's go sew those. All right, now that my skirt is sewn together and I've got my panels, my inserts here, here's my A, my 2 inserts, and my B. We're gonna grab the seam of the A and we're gonna match it up with the B seam like this. I'm gonna bring this one over because this is the shorter one. And then we're gonna measure down 2 inches from the top. First, I'm gonna go ahead and clip it here, and you didn't know where my pins went, but we're gonna measure down 2 inches right here, and we're going to sew a straight stitch right there, because it's gonna be, it's like an explosion, so it will be like sewn together. So like the skirt will sit like this, and then when you walk, it'll like open up, and you're like, oh yeah, look at that insert. So we're gonna go right here and sew those 2 inches in, and then after we sew that, we're gonna open it up, and it's gonna be together here like so, and we're going to no, we're gonna be here, but when you open it, it's gonna be like the edge is gonna be there, and you're going to sew that, baste it together right here at the top. So it's so that let's pretend it's already sewn. It's gonna open up like this, and we're gonna sew that right there so that this is kind of covered in, overlapping right here, and we'll put a top stitch in here. So let's go do that. So for these 2 inches, I'm using a straight stitch. So now, as you can see, when you open it, that is No, look, I didn't catch my fabric in. I didn't stay at the seam here on this side. I went in. So I'm gonna take that off and redo it. All right, here we go again. And be careful to keep it together so you don't have to do what I just did. Now let's see. Yes, much better. Look at that. Okay, so now I'm moving this little one over. So it's gonna be in the seam and I'm gonna baste it here, baste it down. So that when we sew it, this will be kind of like, peekaboo, where are you? There you are. Alrighty, look at that. Twirls coming along. I've got all these threads, but that will be gone when we sew them together. But look at the back, it's just stuck together right there. The front is just a little peekaboo there. So I'm gonna place my peekaboo twirl skirt right side up here on my mat. And we're gonna grab our back and we're gonna sew those side seams. So we're gonna place our back right on top. Now, if you're doing pockets, you will place your pocket face down on your skirt side first and sew it on both sides, and then the front and the back. And then when you sew down, you'll have the pocket to go around and over. I am not adding pockets to my dress this time. I've got my skirt front. I'm gonna grab my skirt back. I'm gonna place it right sides together and sew those sides. All right, my skirt is put together. Now all I've got to do is hem and attach my bodice. I'm not hemming right now. I'm going to leave that toward the end so that way I can hem my sleeves and my bodice at the same time. I'm going to quarter my bodice and I'm going to match up my front. This is my front. Let me make sure. My front is over here. This is my front, the one that I did my back on. That's okay. And I'm going to fit it right. Oh, let me also quarter my skirt. Grab the side seams and go to the front. All right, so now I'm gonna match up my front of my bodice. I'm gonna fit it right in, right sides together. So the right side of my dress matches the right side of my bodice, the skirt and the bodice, right sides together, and match those quarter points. And as I sew, I'm going to put in that clear elastic in there as well. The clear elastic is not bringing the waist in, it's just keeping it, giving it stability at the waist. So once again, we're not stretching our clear elastic, we're just placing it there at the top. I organize my layers all together, make sure that my raw edges are touching. Then I place my clear elastic right on top of that raw edge and go. I don't pull at the clear elastic, I just leave it there. It's just laying there. And I make it go close to the edge so I'm encasing it with my seam allowance. Now this takes a little bit of practice, so if you're having a hard time doing it this way, I would say go ahead and sew the clear elastic onto the bodice first, like I said, like we did with the cowl, and then sew it together. So that way you don't have to actually hold the clear elastic as you're sewing it on. But I do take my time on this. As you can see, my clear elastic is encased. All right, we're finished with our dress. So the last step is for me to go ahead and hem sleeves and bottom. And then I'm going to add just sew on my straps and I'll be done. All right, friends, we are finished, and what twirl magic it is. I love how twirly this dress is. Look at that insert. It looks adorable. I think this turned out really, really great. I still am not 100% sure if I want to add the tab or not. You comment below and let me know. I also did not add the buttons, so you let me know if I should be adding some black buttons for some accents here. I think it would look cute. I'm not sure, so you let me know. I also think that this would be super adorable to make at separates, because then you could wear this beautiful cowl top with some jeans. So I think I'll be able to wear a little bit more. So I'm thinking that later on after the holidays and I wear it as a holiday dress, I might go ahead and split it up and make it into separates. That way I'll wear the top a little bit more often, and then this skirt I could wear with just a plain top sometimes, and it gives you a lot of variety in your wardrobe. So I probably will do that. What do you think? Comment below and let me know. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't, so you never miss any of our other tutorials. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna go twirl some more, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.